What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about Hologram. I want to go over my weekly update, what's been influencing it, the data points, and everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So over the last 5 days, it is down 14.04%, largely because of lack of official news. And then aside from that, just lower volume. So it goes to show that retail isn't really buying Hologram. Same with institutions to the same magnitude. And on a positive note though, as I've shared with you in the past, whenever you do see abnormal spikes in the volume, that usually does mean that there is dilution occurring. So based on this, it is fair to assume that they've taken a pause on that. So that is kind of a positive, if that somewhat makes sense. But what I do find interesting though is Hologram usually, at least in the past, has followed MicroAlgo's kind of trading. And lately their stock has been getting hit quite significantly, down 96%. But I started to look at them a little bit closer, and they're starting to do those PR blitzes that Hologram started to do in December, January, and all the way up to March, right before they did the reverse stock split. So maybe this is just their playbook that is now in the market. Just do a lot of PR blitzes, even though the news isn't really substantial, a lot of fluff. It's just maybe that's the thing to do. So MicroAlgo starting to do those PR blitzes to obviously avoid a reverse stock split. It's not really helping them whatsoever. But again, going back to Hologram, this might potentially start up as far as the PR blitzes once it gets to, I would assume, that $3 to $2 range, because when they start panicking about doing another reverse stock split, that's most likely when that will kick in. But when it comes to the latest 13Fs, so all these kind of 13Fs did occur during Q1, so it's not as though that it changed right now, but Jane Street, as of right now, Jane Street has the largest position of Hologram, and they do have common stock, so 641,000 shares. They also have call options. So by seeing this, I know a lot of people say, hey, that's a good thing, but I do believe that anyone having call options might actually be shorting the actual stock. And yes, I get it. It does show that they have a positive amount of common stock, 641,000, but 13Fs are very misleading. And this is why the new SEC transparency rule, which was supposed to have been fully in force mid 2024. I believe it's been pushed back to 2026 now. The new SEC transparency rule will force institutions to show their short positions on 13Fs, because as of right now, it is completely voluntary if you show and disclose your short position. So it is a messed up scenario, and this is why they're trying to change it. But technically, even though Jane Street does show that they have 641,000 shares, they might actually be short. And this is why they would be having call options, because a call option would be essentially a hedge against their short position, just in case Hologram was to go up. So that's not the best. And even just kind of taking a step back, a lot of the bigger players in here clearly aren't in it for their best interest, meaning they usually do lend out shares. And even you see the dreaded Citadel has a negative amount based on that. So they have a lot of puts, they have call options, and then they have the common stock. So again, another very malicious kind of entity that likes to bring down stocks. So there's a lot of sharks here, in my opinion. And again, I see a lot of people saying that why would institutions be holding Hologram? And it's, in my opinion, it's just to bring Hologram down, just to lend out, just for shorting purposes and whatever else. Because the cost to borrow average is 217%. That is very juicy and attractive to a lot of entities that likes to lend out shares. So again, they might be actually legitimately believing in Hologram, but based on just the name of the entity, kind of some of their holdings, it is fair to assume that they are kind of betting on Hologram. Just again, through 13Fs, it doesn't disclose their short position, so it's kind of flawed a little bit. But basically through this, it does show 18.8% of the free float is being shorted, 717,000 shares. So this is essentially what the market does like to squeeze, as if you believe that this is all accurate. Heavily shorted stocks, low float, again, kind of meets that criteria. On Friday, shorts did return 12,000 shares. Like I said, cost to borrow average is fairly high. So 217, high amount of 268, low of 134%. So pretty interesting stuff. So again, something to kind of keep in mind for that. But short score is 82.36. So the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening. So I'm sure a lot of big influencers might start to pick up on all of this and start to say that it is a squeeze play. So that could really drive up some demand going into this upcoming week, possibly. But yeah, it is what it is. That's what always happens with every stock, right? There's a lot of retail that get burned. They get sour against hologram, and then the company puts out new PR or influencers start to pump it again, and then new retail gets in. Rinse and repeat. That's what does happen, not just with hologram, but pretty much across the board with stocks. So at this stage in the game, I think hologram really needs to get their stuff together. As I shared in my last video, I think their window for opportunity is narrowing if there is going to be any hope of them making a credible business and actually making some money for its investors. So at the end of the day, it's just a little bit of a sticky scenario. Any company getting into these convertible notes it's kind of a recipe for disaster. So all of these prospectuses are 365-day notes. So keep in mind the next payable one is June the 20th. So interest payments are paid through convertible stock. So the stock is paying the interest, and then the principal is paid through cash. So June the 20th and then July the 10th, those are the next payable ones. So this is why I've stated in the past that hologram's cash is slowly being eaten away, and this is why most likely they will start to put out more and more of these new prospectuses just to build up their cash. Just the only thing is, these recent prospectuses, they did raise it to 40 million each, whereas throughout 2024 they were sticking to that 28 million, and then subtract admin fees and so forth, they got 25 million each. But they're starting to increase the dollar value because they need more money, right? So at the end of the day, I think hologram right now is still not really that good of an investment, even though I see some influencers on Twitter starting to pump this. And I think, again, it goes back down to just the data points. They're seeing this for face value, not seeing what's behind the scenes and what has really occurred. So you might see a little bit of a bump up because of those influencers really pumping it, as what has happened in the past. But I think overall, the trend is still going to slowly go down. So let me know your thoughts on hologram. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Have you been buying? Do you believe in hologram still? Like, what's your general kind of thoughts on all of that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And then one final thing, if you are looking for some good buying opportunities, pop over to my Patreon and get buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. So definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.